All right. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. Today's shir should be Leilu Nishmas, our dear friend Menachem ben Yisrael Yaakov, L'Refu Shalem and Meshulam ben Sarah Rachel, L'Refu Shalem and Rechama Rivka Bas Rachel, and as well as Miriam Bas Sarah. Now, today we start chapter 5, Perek Hey. Until now, we learned a lot of structure. We learned a lot of how-tos in Bitachon. In Perek Hey, we're going to start learning the differences. What makes us different? And he starts off, you're going to see in the introduction, you're going to see, for instance, when it comes to Hishtadlus, a person with Bitachon and a person without Bitachon are both doing the same exact job. They both might be in the same field of work. But how is a person with Bitachon versus a person without Bitachon, how do they fare? And so I want to go through the introduction over here because I feel it's important. So Rav Av over here says in this introduction, he discusses how a person with proper Bitachon acts in real life and shows the differences between him and a person without proper Bitachon. So in the previous chapters we learned that even one who has Bitachon is obligated to invest his effort into Hishtadlus, right? In meeting his material needs, or whether it be finances or health or anything like that. Externally then, the actions of the person who trusts in Hashem seem very similar, like I just said, to the person who puts faith in his own prowess, and to the person who does things without Bitachon and just feels like my own being, my kaiches that I put in is what makes me successful. Both of them work for a living, both of them seek medical help when they're ill, and so forth. So the Rav Av shows in this chapter, in Perek Hey, how Bitachon guides a person in the manner of obtaining his income and other worldly needs, and how it elevates his actions and thoughts to a higher realm than those of a person who trusts in himself only and only in his own abilities. So now, many of the points discussed in this chapter were already mentioned previously in things that we learned till now. But in particular, in the beginning we spoke about, that contains a list of differences between a person who relies on Hashem and a person who doesn't rely on Hashem, and they partially overlap in this perek. In this perek, we're going to see they partially overlap, but one who has Bitachon and one who does not, that's where we're going to show the difference and how it plays out in the personality when you have Bitachon versus you don't have Bitachon. There is, however, one notable difference between the chapter Perek Hey and the previous chapters. In the beginning, we talk about the Rav Av was introducing the subject of Bitachon, and what the Rav Av was trying to do earlier on in the Sefer. He was trying to draw us in, and he was trying to describe to us the benefits of being a Baal Bitachon and practicing this structure, to show the advantage of Bitachon over, quote unquote, like the guaranteed source of income or anything like that. He illustrated the contrast between a tranquil life and the one who places his trust in Hashem, and the anxiety-filled life and the alchemist. Here, in this Perek, in Perek Hey, Rav Av addresses one who has already studied the previous chapter. So for us, in this shir, so this is important because we already understand the structure, we already understand the different nuances, and over here he's going to continue that. The reader already understands the guidelines in Bitachon. He recognizes that Bitachon is intrinsic, that it's something that has to be in you. And the avodas Hashem, serving Hashem, that it must govern his action as well as his attitude every single day. And he seeks, the reader, the person who learned this, all of us over here on this shir, seeks to carry the lessons of those chapters forward from theory to practice. So now, we went to college, we got a degree, and now we're going into the internship portion. That's where we are when it comes to Rav Av. Rav Av shows how this person's approach to life should and will differ in actuality from the counterparts of someone else who fails to internalize Bitachon in his every single day life. This chapter is a lesson in how one serves Hashem through trusting in Hashem. And so that's what we're going to start with over here today. Now, in the previous chapter, Rav Av set out the parameters of Bitachon regarding matters of this world as well as the next world. But in this chapter, in Perek Hey, Rav Av is going to focus on the practical impact of Bitachon on one's approach to material matters of this world. So if you remember in Perek Daled, we went through the 7 different categories of Bitachon. Perik Hay is going to focus on the first three, which is health and basic sustenance, additional income, and relationships with others. That's what we're going to focus over here, on how that plays out in our day-to-day life. Now, we're going to start with the first one. And it seems like in good fashion of the Rav Av, I believe there are seven distinctions that he goes through. And so I believe the number 7 seems to be pretty popular in Rav Av. Now, we start off over here. It says, Aval haferish shebein habateach alakim v'zulasei. Now, describe the difference between one who has bitachon in Hashem and accepts his one who has bitachon in Hashem and another person who does not. Be'inyan his asik b'sibois hateref, in regard to how he approaches the means of earning a living and other material matters. Now, Rav Av uses the terminology of earning a living, but he doesn't necessarily mean that only. It means he's just using that as an example, as a reference point, but he could mean some of the differences Rav Av will list do not apply to earning a living necessarily. It could be anything, any aspect of your life. But he uses earning a living as the example over here instead of going through every single different scenario. So just keep that in mind. I will say that one who has bitachon in Hashem is different from one who does not have bitachon in Hashem in 7 areas. There's the number 7 we spoke about. Today we're going to learn the first one. The first area of distinction of accepting Hashem's judgment. How we accept the decree that Hashem gave us. Echad mehem. Ki habayteach b'lekim roitze b'dinoi b'chol inyonav. That one who trusts in Hashem accepts his judgment willingly in all matters, both good and bad. Umoideloi ala toiva v'al hara. And he thanks Hashem for the good as well as the bad. He says over here, he not only accepts that if something bad happens to him or her, that it is, he just accepts it. He is also thankful to Hashem over that. K'moshe Omar, it says in the pasuk, Hashem nasam v'Hashem lokach. Yi Hashem Hashem mevarach. It says, in Eve, it declared upon hearing that he lost his children, we'll go that in a minute, Hashem has given and Hashem has taken, and blesses Hashem's name. Eve had a very, very difficult life towards the end. What happened was, Eve was an extremely, extremely wealthy man. He had 10 children. Now, one day, Eve came home and he found out that all of his flocks of his sheep and his mesharsim were lost, and they died. And then also, to top it off, his 10 children were having a meal together in a home, and the home collapsed and all the children died. Eve threw himself on the floor and started crying, and he said, "You gave me, and you take it." And he said that with pride, and he said that with happiness, and he said, "I'm thankful for everything you've given me, and I'm also thankful that you took them back." And that's where the pasuk shows you. He says that even if you are in a position where something might seem bad for you, you not only have to be accepting of it, but you also have to be thankful to Hashem for this. It's difficult, but that's something to aspire to. And it says further, it says, and it's written in Tehillim, David HaMelech writes, is of kindness and justice do I sing. That he said that when he was singing, the sages said, I am dealt with kindness and I will sing, and I will dealt with justice and I will sing. Meaning that even when he was punished, I'm also singing. Why? Because again, I am thankful to Hashem for what he has given me, and I'm also thankful for Hashem because this is what I need. Hashem decided this is what that I deserve a punishment, and I'm fully accepting and also thankful to Hashem for this. Because we're going to learn soon that when you're thankful for that, you're not thankful that something bad happens, because it gives you structure. It gives you the realization of who you are. And that's why you're thankful to Hashem. And he says, that the sages said in the Mishnah, in Ibid, says a person is obligated to bless Hashem for the bad, just as he blesses Hashem for the good. The Gemara explains over there that it means one is obligated to accept the bad with the same joy as he accepts the good. The same level of happiness that you have when something good comes upon you, when Hashem bestows on you some greatness in your life, and you're so happy, you're so excited for that same level of happiness you need to have when Hashem gives you something bad. That's the level of a person with bitachon, how he fears his every single day life versus someone who doesn't have bitachon in his everyday life. But by contrast, one who does not trust in Hashem, mishalel ala toiva. He takes credit for the good on himself. He says, "Oh yeah, I was the one who made this happen." That's when the good things happen. Because K'moshe Nema ki hilel rasha al tavas nafshoy uboitzea be'ach ne'etz Hashem. It says in Tehillim, it says, the wicked man glories in having obtained his personal desire, his wealth, his interests in life, everything that he has, and the robber praises himself that he has blamfested Hashem. What we learn from this pasuk is that it's proof from Hashem, the first half of the verse, when someone says, "Oh, I'm taking credit for myself," but when bad things happen, then you blame it on Hashem. When it's good, you say, "Yes, it's my abilities, my koyach, because I work so hard and I'm so smart that I'm able to make so much money and I'm able to do this and that." They thank themselves. But once something bad happens, there's a turn of events, there's a downturn in the markets, all of a sudden now they turn to Hashem, "Hashem, you did this to me." And that's the difference. And he becomes angry at Hashem for all the bad stuff. It says when he will be hungry, he will be angry and curse the king and his gods and direct his face on the high. Over there it talks about, it says, the verse speaks of people who worship idol worshippers. It says when distress strikes, they curse their gods, directing their foul words toward them. But when the good things happen, then they thank themselves. And so they look at their gods, their idols, as they're like, "Oh, you're the idol of the food, and I'm hungry, so that's why I get mad at you." That's what we learn over here today. The difference between a person with Bitachon and a person with NO Bitachon is you're full-heartedly invested in the entire process of loving Hashem, thanking Hashem, and being thankful for everything He gave you, both good and both bad. And that's the first of the 7 distinctions between a person with Bitachon and a person who fails to have Bitachon today in their life and how they fear on a daily basis. Thank you everyone for joining me today and in starting this new Perek, and I love each and one of you.